Welcome everybody. This is the SharePoint Dev ecosystem / SharePoint Dev SharePoint PMP community call, and this is the monthly community call. Why is it saying December? Well, why is it saying December? Who's writing these slides? Well, that's me. I completely missed that. That's pretty awkward. It says January 18th, but I didn't say that pretty big December on the call. So that's an awesome start for the call. So that's on me. My name is Vesa Juvonen. I'm the person who takes full responsibility of the slides. Now, for today, funny enough, for today, Chris Kent from the PMP core team will be the host. So he's been running through the slides. I will jump in on some of the slides and interrupt Chris as he moves along. And then we have cool demos coming up from John Sanders and Sean Squires and Melissa Torres. So we'll see how that goes, and we'll flip between the persons and presentation screens as we move along on things. It is January 8th. It is January 2019 community call, even though somehow completely didn't notice that typo on the slide. But Chris, I think it's all yours to take it away. So take it away and lead us to the end of the call. Thank you.
I will lead you now. All right. Hi, everybody. So, again, I'm Chris Kent. I'm part of the PMP core team. I'm an office development MVP. There you go. All right, so let's talk. What do we got? We got a bunch of crazy stuff. So we're going to start off. We're going to tell you all the latest news that's going on, show you some cool statistics, give you a reminder about a few cool things, how you can get involved and all that stuff. Then we're going to jump into a pretty awesome set of demos from Sean Squires, Melissa Torres, and John Sanders from Microsoft. Feel free to go ahead and start asking questions in the chat now, all while they're going. We'll see what they can do to answer them, and if we've got some time at the end, we'll do some Q&A. But these guys are actually Microsoft paid employees, so feel free to grill them. That'd be great. All right. It's going to be awesome. Let's take a look. So, as a reminder, what is SharePoint Patterns and Practices? What kind of calls do we have available? So this is part of the larger community. There are thousands and thousands and millions of you. Sure.
Yes.
All right. Unmute yourself here. All right. Hey, Paul, can you mute yourself? You can do it. All right. So let's move on here. So what we got here? So this Thursday, we've got a dev call. So the SIGs are special interest groups. Want to check those out, so join those. That's where we're going to talk about things like Power Apps, Microsoft Flow, general SharePoint development. So it's a lot more than just the SharePoint framework and some of those pieces, PowerShell, all that stuff's going to be in there. Join those. Those are a ton of fun. Alternating with that, so the next one is Thursday, January 17th, is one very specifically focused on the SharePoint framework. So we're going to talk about like PNP.js Core. We're going to talk about CLI. We're going to talk about all those kind of more specific things with SharePoint framework. So join those as well. And then, of course, there's this call, which happens once a month, which is kind of our summary of everything that's been happening. Usually some pretty cool engineering demos directly from Microsoft, some cool announcements, and give you a real summary of what's been going on, and as a thank you to everybody that's been participating, because there are lots and lots of you. All right. So how do I know that? Look at these numbers. These are crazy. So if you guys have been on these calls for a while, maybe you're getting number blindness, but these numbers are getting huge and bigger every month. They kind of blow me away. So these numbers are still very big despite the holidays, so many people being out, and they keep getting bigger. So I expect that this month they'll grow even more. So I don't know if you want to say anything specific about any of these numbers, or want to read any of them specifically, but anybody?
No, nothing. Nope. No, nothing really on my side. I think it's we shouldn't always spend too much time on this, but it's always great to see that there's plenty of other people who are active on the community, so you're definitely not alone. So reach out within the GitHub, reach out in the community channels. There's plenty of other people using our open source and out-of-the-box capabilities, so be active.
Yeah, and maybe next month this will be teal, all right, with the new logo and all that other stuff.
Fine. That's on me. That is on me. I'll do that.
All right. It's always good to tweak the slides during the presentation. That's important. All right. Here we go. So speaking of numbers, we can't actually see any of the details of these numbers, but the main thing to notice, if you read it from left to right, it's getting bigger. And you notice it's getting even bigger as it goes. So this is exponential growth. This is the usage of SharePoint Framework Solutions and SharePoint Online. Look at that 581% increases since last year at this time. So that's huge. This is the what's the most widely used extensibility model in all of Office 365 by a long shot. And this is all related to the things you guys are doing and the things the community is putting together. So I expect this is going to continue to grow. But that's the whole point of what we're doing here and why we're sharing all this stuff, is to help everybody succeed and see these numbers go up. Okay? Right.
Maybe one thing, sorry, Chris, sorry, I can't help myself. So one thing to notice here is that this year the Christmas and the holiday season was basically 2 weeks, so the gap on the Christmas was relatively long, but you can actually see yesterday's number on the usage per user graph, and it's insane. So we're growing exponentially starting from yesterday again, so the usage is just out of this world, basically. So interesting to see where we will be by end of this year, so really cool.
Yeah. We're gonna need a bigger slide.
That's true.
All right. So as a reminder, MSDN dead. Go over here to docs.microsoft.com/SharePoint, where you're going to find all the developer documentation. There's a lot of stuff in here, a lot of opportunity as well. So one of the things that people don't always realize is there's an edit button. So if you see a typo or you see something that's not quite very clear, or you're aware of how something could be maybe phrased a little differently, hit that edit button. It's super easy. You can submit that. You'll actually get your little face up there. You'll be on our list of contributors. You can get your company on there. You get a huge promotion. It's going to be great for you. But the whole idea is we don't want typos. You don't want typos. So now we can all fix that. But it's also your opportunity to provide feedback. If you added a comment, it's going to go directly into the issues list. And that's a chance for us to dive into something together, see if we can solve whatever's going on, see if it's an actual issue there or if it's something that just was unclear in the documentation. So really be involved in this. It's not just for reading anymore. All right. Yeah, I just guaranteed you promotion for sure, but well, not you specifically. All right. So speaking of that issues list, again, if you create a comment there, you're going to create an issue, but you can also go directly to that aka.ms/spdev issues. This is actually part of the spdev docs GitHub repository. Submit an issue here. So this is the place. So if you don't like the Yammer web part, this is not the place to put that in here. But if you've got an issue while you're doing some development, if you think there's a bug, you've got a question, put that here. There's also a spot to put feedback and ideas. That's user voice. I think Wes is going to talk about that in a minute. But coming here, there is some automation, but you can also answer questions for other people. So if you see an issue someone posted and you happen to know the answer to that, feel free, jump in. Put your answer right there. Let's have a discussion. Let's see if we can work it out. Okay? All right. So this show right here, the SharePoint Dev Weekly, really episode 21. I didn't realize there were that many. That's crazy. So this is where a couple of guys get together and they talk about a bunch of SharePoint stuff, right? So Vesa and Waldeck get together. They usually have a guest. But this is a great way to catch up across all sorts of different blogs you might follow and find out what's really important to pay attention to this week. What's happening within the SharePoint dev space with Office 365 dev. It's a lot of fun. If you've got something that you've written or you've put out there that you'd like them to take a look at, feel free to tag them, make them aware of it on Twitter or anywhere else. If you're interested in joining, reach out to them as well. All right, if you haven't watched this yet, shame on you. Definitely take a look. All right. Vesa, you want to talk about this one?
I'll take this one. So on the user voice on the SharePoint Dev, and I do apologize on behalf of the SharePoint and the Dev platform engineering, we haven't actually had massive amount of progress in the top 10 top 10 submissions in the user voice lately. But I did some updates on many of these yesterday and clean up some of our backlog. So just to make sure that everybody is aware, the number one item, which is the add manage metadata term store operations, the REST API is actually under development right now. I can't give you an exact ETA, but we are working on making a proper REST API now for the taxonomy service, where you can use then the typical set of CRUD operations and everything else. And we do know that this has been a long wait to get it available, but now it is actually truly under development, so it is coming finally. Now, the second thing what I wanted to actually pinpoint as well is the support for .NET Core with CSAM. That's technically the title of the user voice submission, but we are looking into having a .NET standard version of CSAM within the first half of this calendar year. So hopefully in the first quarter, but I can't promise exactly if it's going to be split on the second quarter. We do understand that the .NET developers and C# and VB.NET, if somebody is VB.NET developer, are looking into having a .NET standard / .NET core version of CSUN ASAP. So we've been piloting that already successfully for a while, and there is now a real task in the pipeline, which people are starting to work on it right after the holidays. So that looks pretty promising. The third thing here is also now scheduled for this quarter / the first half, which is the add support for single page application. Sorry, let me be precise on this one. Add support for single page applications in SharePoint Framework is already in preview, starting from 1.7 version of SharePoint Framework. So we do have a documentation, pretty high-level documentation in docs available. We did do a live demo on this one in a community course a while back, and we will have additional content on this one available in the future as well. The other things that I wanted to quickly pinpoint, support for library packages in SharePoint Framework scheduled to be done in this quarter / first half of this year. So that's in the closed pipeline as well. Not necessarily in 1.8, but potentially then delayed on 1.9 release. So that should be coming up as well. And then ability to use app-only calls to create modern sites is actually in progress, technically partly already working. It's a documentation challenge on our side. There will be some nuances related on that one. Are you creating a group associated team site, or are you creating a communication site? So communication sites are SharePoint sites, so we can easily create them using app only, but the group associated team sites is a slightly more complicated story. We're looking into getting that one documented ASAP as well. So all of these are finally getting movement. The other stuff there is some of them are pretty old, like recurrent calendar events on a classic SharePoint calendar lists. I can't promise anything related on that one at this point, and a few other items. But that's a quick update on the top 10. We're finally getting a clear movement of many of these things starting from this year. So, Chris, your turn.
Did you want to comment on, there was a question in chat about the first one there, about it being exposed to REST v2?
Yes. So, well, that was the interesting discussion in the yesterday in the Twitter. It went completely sideways. So yes, I told Mikael how things are working, and we talked about the V2 internally first. It's not a secret. We are looking into, let's put it this way. We're looking into making managed metadata term APIs available through Graph and through SharePoint REST APIs. Now, what does it mean in practice when ETA? I can't disclose at this point. But is it V2? Is it V1? Is it in a graph? Well, it should be in a graph. And if it's in a graph, it's actually in the V2. If you're super kind of lost on what is a V2, what is a graph, and what is a V1 API, we'll talk about this one on Thursday's community call, I'll promise. So I will have a slide there explaining what is a V1, V2, and what is a graph API in Thursday's community call, which is the SharePoint Dev community call this Thursday. So just clarifying that. But we do timings. Let's not spend too much time on this one today.
All right, you're welcome. All right. Okay. All right. So if you want to find out all the details about actually what was done over December and everything that happened, you want to check out this blog post. So aka.ms/spdev-blog. It's got all the details. It's a massive post. It's got all the links to everything. So if you want to really see what's happening. And there was a ton of stuff despite the holidays, or maybe even because of the holidays. So a lot of stuff, a lot of great changes, a lot of things to be aware of. So if you've got a particular area, say the PNP reusable controls or some other, the starter kit or something that you want to dive into, that's a great place to get that on that blog. So check it out. All right. So look at this. Look at all these names. That thumb keeps getting smaller and smaller. Eventually, we're going to have 2 slides. So there's a lot of people that are on there, every month, month after month. There's a lot of new people as well. Thank you, all of you, for your amazing contributions. And again, this could be anywhere from you edited a typo to you presented a full-on sample or anything else. But become a part of this. So it's a really awesome opportunity for you to contribute and give back to the community, get your name out there, people to see your work, all that stuff. And again, if you're not Bo, you're definitely going to get a promotion. Okay. All right, and if you have given us permission to use your company logo, that can be displayed here. These are just the people that have given the logo and permission to use it. The way I did it, I just reached out. I think it was Tech Community, and I sent it to Vesa that way. I just attached it way back when. You can do the same thing. You probably do it through Twitter. Just reach out, and you find a way to give us your logo, and we'll put that up here. This really gives a lot of visibility to your company. as a thank you for letting them spend time contributing back to this. And is it just me, or does it totally look like those hands are going to capture these logos like the little butterflies? I just wonder if anyone else thinks that every time they see the slide.
It's only you. It's only you.
It's only me. Okay. Yeah. Well, it's going to get them. Just trust me. All right. Okay, and finally, thank you so much to all the people at Microsoft for all your help this past month. I know you, again, like everyone else, you all have day jobs as well, but it's great to see you guys participating as well. All right. All right, so you guys ready for some demos? Woo! All right, so Sean Squires, Melissa Torres, and John Sanders, you guys ready?
Yeah, I think we talked about...
What? Whoa!
Ooh, are you expecting us to do something? What? You guys are probably sitting in the same room, right? Just double checking.
No.
Okay, never mind then.
Like you guys, we are distributed and all connected through the power of technology. So.
There we go. That sounds good. That sounds good. Did we want to go John first and then one step at a time?
Yeah, I think so. Hey, John, does that still make sense?
Yes, I think so. Oh, yeah, sorry. I think so. Let me just get up the right windows here, and I will take control. Or I probably have to ask Vesa, because...
No, you're a presenter. Of course you are.
Oh, yay. Okay, and what I'm going to be showing you here today are section backgrounds. So let me get rid of this. Okay. All right, what I've got here is...
Wait. Yeah, we got it. I think we got it. Yep. Yeah, we have multiple confirmation. Yep, all good.
This is your page. Someone else is unmuted, because I can hear a lot of car noise all of a sudden. Okay, car noise is gone. So I'm just going to put a little content in here. And what I'm going to show you is an ability to add section background colors. And then we're going to drop a couple of web parts in there and talk about how you make your web part look great. So let's start by adding, if we put a text block in here, you can see that we basically have handled all of our background and foreground color management. So you can use standard colors, but we pull in basically your theme colors here for your text. And for some of our other web parts, we basically handle any of the background, foreground color management for you. And if you change your various colors in your section backgrounds, either to go to no background, neutral, soft, or even dark colors, we switch the colors of your foreground by using our theme slots with Fabric. And Vesa and the team are working on some good dev samples on how you can do this with your third-party web parts as well. But even since we know that not everyone's going to have the time to do background theme management right away, we have a model that lets you do a fallback on a web part that isn't yet supported. So if I pull a web part from our tenant here, we'll use this third party, no we won't.
Funny enough, that was actually Chris Kent's sample, which you almost started there. So
thanks for giving
but I have to. I think I have to configure it, which I thought it was already configured.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So here, if we pull in a group calendar, you'll see that we've left that as a fallback experience. You see the white border. Basically, what we're doing is we pull in the page color and we put it behind your web part. So if you haven't had time to yet do your theme slot mapping using the Fabric theme slots, your web part is still going to look good in sections that have emphasis or color by using this background or fallback procedure. And I'm going to pop over because I expect there's probably questions.
Yeah, John, I was just going to say there's a couple people asking about release timelines and that cover both a bunch of branding stuff. So why don't you go ahead and talk about section, and I'll complement because I know William and a few others were asking about some related branding features.
Sure. So section background color right now is at 10% targeted release. When I get into the office later today, I will push it to 50% targeted release customers. So basically half of the customers in targeted release will be able to play with section backgrounds. Any section can be have background colors on it, and you can drop various web parts into the section backgrounds to see what which of our web parts, as well as what your own web part will look like in section background. The key I was trying to make, though, is we have a couple of our developers originally were going to take some of the PNP sample web parts, and we call it glamorize them using the Fabric theme slots. We decided it would be better to do a much simpler, just this is how you do theme slotting sample. And I know one of our engineers, John, has been working on it. I don't know, Vesa, if you talked with John and have a timeline on when you think that documentation would be available?
It should be relatively soon available, but John has been on a vacation until this week as well, so we'll get it out probably by end of this week, so that should be fine.
Okay. So assuming our quality numbers for section background are good, I'll continue pushing it out to 100% targeted release, so you should be able to play with it pretty darn shortly.
Awesome.
And with that said, I'm going to jump off sharing.
So I was going to comment, actually, since you have that screen up, but everybody visualize. As you probably, no, that's okay. Yeah, there you go. Thank you. So just to answer, I think a couple other comments there, and then John, I think you had another question. Let's see, the header background, that's fully out. That was released in the fall, I think, right before Ignite, just as a sort of an FYI. There was also questions about some of the things that Denise Trebona and I have talked about at Ignite and ESPC this past winter. And let's see, the full disclosure is the mega menu and the header changes and the footer and all that good stuff that we showed off at the conferences is coming very soon. It's going to start rolling to targeted release later this month. We apologize for the delay. We were hoping to get it out before the holidays. Unfortunately, we ran into some interesting bugs, and we didn't want to hit you guys with those right before we all took off for the holiday. So hang tight, coming as soon as we can possibly get it out to you.
And that's now that we're seeing that, actually, Sean, can you scroll all the way down? We can actually see, as an example, there's a content footer, which is one of the capabilities which is not yet available, but it's coming through from DC. I just had a meeting earlier today around that one, and how do we make the developer guidance around the content footer there.
Yes.
So the Contoso Electronics is a logo which is in the content footer in the page as well. So that's coming out relatively soon.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you for that. I would also add that the things that were a lot of the branding stuff that this new set of features documentation will obviously be complementing that as well, both on the just what's available in the UX and then also all the goodness you can use through PNP and code.
Yep.
So let me answer a couple of the questions in the sidebar here. So
awesome.
Are you planning to change the background color in out-of-the-box web parts? So the section background actually doesn't change the web part background. That's why I brought up some pages that had some better content. So these are image web parts, and the web part itself is the entire image. Or as you see here with quick links or with the events web part, the web part itself isn't changing. Basically, you as a developer are allowing the background to come through your web part because you've done the work to make sure that it's accessible for the users. So in this case, there's no border around the quick links web part because we've done the work to make sure that our foreground color here where it says benefits works with a soft, a neutral, and a strong emphasis theme color. In RTE, we have also done the work to plumb it through, so colors that you pick from the theme do the right effort to be opposite, or let's say complementary to the colors in the background. You can, however, still make inaccessible content in the RTE if you use standard colors, but you'll see it immediately as a user. So we think that that's okay. If we get feedback that it's not okay, then we'll make adjustments. And let's see here. So I think I answered both those questions. Will we be able to add more custom colors? Great question. Short answer, no. To start with, what we're doing is trying to make color as a theme throughout the system. So it works in your header, it works in your footer, it works in the section emphasis or section background colors. Right now, that's all driven off theme. So you manage it with site designs and, see, it used to be called site scripts. Sean can insert the right phrase.
Oh, you got it. Yeah.
Okay. So it's all managed by your theme. So if you wanted to make a theme of all your company colors, you could absolutely drive the section background based on those colors, but you couldn't randomly have a section background be bright red if your theme was all blues. Okay, awesome, good. Mega menu and footer. Sean, do you want to hit that? Or I guess you already did.
I think I did, but yeah, and I'll just recap those real quickly when I bring up the roadmap. But yes, the short answer again is we were targeting end of December. We got bumped a little bit with the holidays and a few bugs we found, so we'll be rolling out in a few weeks. And I saw another one that Vesa, you called out about themes associated sites to a hub. Lou, yeah, is the question that you want to be able to not have associated sites joined to a hub inheriting the hub's theme, but rather maintain or have the ability to have their own theme? Am I reading that question correctly?
Yeah, that's correct, yeah.
Okay, so actually, Melissa, if you're on the call, maybe you can confirm it's correct, but I think the idea there is yes, we do not support that today, but we have gotten great feedback from the community that that's an option that we would like to, you would like enabled.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Right now, to Sean's point, we don't support it today, but definitely something that's top of mind for me, to give basically hub owners the ability to have a switch that says, I'm okay with associated sites changing their own theme. So that would be how we would do it. But nothing to, no timing on that yet.
And cool. Let's see.
I'm just being conscious about, no offense, John, but looking the Skype screen is really boring rather than seeing what you have on the background behind of the Skype. Or should we go to Sean? Should we go to your screen?
Yeah, we can definitely go to Sean's screen. Sorry, exactly. I was trying to read the questions while people answered them.
Yeah, that's always the challenge of having a one screen. That's really the challenge.
While Sean brings that up, there is a person who asked 2 questions about hubs. So is it okay if I answer them while Sean brings his thing up?
No, please do. Yes, that'd be great.
Cool. So Gautam, sorry if I'm not saying that right, but you said, hey, any plans to increase hub sites limit? Yes, right now the limit is 100, but we're actively working on increasing that. And then this is actually one for Sean, and now maybe can we also increase the number of actions in site designs? And I think the answer for that is we're also working on that.
Awesome. Yes, and I'm sorry, Christian, when will site designs be more stable? Please report any issues you're having with actions hanging. I don't know what you mean by they're getting stuck on an action. Some take longer than others, and certainly if you're calling out via the trigger flow action to execute some additional scripts, we don't really do a great job of informing you through the UI how long that might take because we don't know what's happening. So one of the things that we're looking to do is provide a mechanism for you to write back messages that will inform the user if you have some long-running function that might be called. But as far as native actions, those should all be running fairly quickly. One of the things that has changed, which we'll cut over now since I'm going to talk a little bit more about site designs and some of the recent releases, is we have something I announced at Ignite and also at ESPC was we extended the number of script actions that we support prior to the change that's rolling out right now at 100% targeted release, by the way. You guys, as you know, were limited to 30 script actions, and we have bumped that to about 300 or 100,000 characters. And the way that we're doing that is we're actually sort of batching the call, if you will, and running the job a little bit more asynchronously. So it gives us a little bit more runway to execute larger scripts. So hopefully that will, we're pretty happy with how we're approaching this. And like I said, it does give us some room to continue to grow the experience as we add more capabilities to the feature. So we're hoping that that will satisfy a lot of your scenarios. Let's see. I'm going to actually, before I get started here, I'm just going to see if there's a couple of other questions that came in.
There's so many questions, actually. This is probably the most active window we've been having for a while. So, you guys, awesome. and Melissa, you really need to drop by more often on this call so we can actually have this.
Yeah, this is super. Yeah. Oh, yeah. By the way, good morning, everybody, and Happy New Year. Yes. Thank you for having us. It's always a pleasure to present and talk to you and share things that we're working on. So, yeah, very, very excited. Let's see. Vesa, please feel free to help call out a few things that I'm missing. Is there a plan to roll out enterprise content types and site designs? Yes, but maybe I need you to elaborate on that, Daniel. Are you saying that if you've defined an enterprise content type, you just want to reference it in the script itself rather than having to declare it?
I think the question is related on getting that from a content type hub, most likely. That's.
Yeah. We're. I don't have a solid answer for you except to say that we do have content type support in the script, site designs, as you know already. One of the things that we're doing is looking to expand that so that it's easier to leverage previously created content types. Let's say you have them in a hub and you want them to be pushed down to maybe associated sites. We are looking at some of those scenarios. As far as how we're going to talk to the content type hub, we are still evaluating that because we're also looking at some ways to really optimize that whole syndication model. There's unfortunately some performance challenges with that as we have moved to the cloud that we're not super happy with, and neither are you. And so rather than investing on that old platform, we're looking at ways to improve that. But the specific design is sort of ETA.
And isn't that, Sean Squires, actually your job in the future? So that's part of the role. So.
Yes, Vesa, it is. Which is why I'm hedging my comments here.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So, as Vesa mentioned, we're actually spinning up a new content services team that's going to be really diving a lot deeper into this area of, enterprise content management. And that's an area that hasn't gotten a lot of attention with a lot of the recent SharePoint reboot. And so it's one that we will be turning our attention to with a bunch of dedicated folks in the coming years. So we're very excited about that. That also is probably a good opportunity for me to also mention that site designs are going to continue to roll forward. We're very excited about what we've delivered to you guys this past year, and we have a lot more in store for you in 2019. Melissa's going to be really driving that effort, and so by all means, I think I speak for both of us and the rest of the team. We are super appreciative of all of your feedback and support. Please continue to let us know what you're trying to do with it, what you need, and we'll keep you posted as we roll out more capabilities in the coming year. Let's see. I do want to get to the slide there on the screen.
Let's go to the slide so we can actually show some cool content as well. Because obviously the questions are coming from people who know what we promised already partly and what we've seen, but there's always new people who haven't seen the cool stuff. What was mentioned. So.
Okay, so what do I have on the screen here? So what I have on the screen here, as you can tell from the footer, is the roadmap slide that we presented most recently at the end of November. In Copenhagen at ESPC. I highlighted in green a couple of the things that were recently released or rolling out, and a few things that, as I mentioned a few minutes ago in the call, were intended to start going out to targeted release in December. But we ran into a few hiccups and didn't really want to compromise anything right before the holidays. So apologies for the delay. We will be getting this stuff going to targeted release, as I mentioned, later this month. Let's see. So what has gone out, real briefly, is some things you guys on the call might be familiar with, and we'll talk about these and demo them in a second. The full width header support I mentioned, that came out a while ago. Header background for SharePoint themes. We also have hub site designs. Both Melissa and I showed that off at Ignite and at the SPC. This is the ability to associate a site design with a hub. And what that means is then when a site joins the hub, that site design can be executed and applied to the associated site. That's pretty cool. We also started rolling out a new capability, Create Site from Hub. And what this does is this provides a Create Site link that opens up the similar experience you would get on SharePoint Home. And that allows you to create a site that is automatically joined to a hub. And obviously, if that hub has a site design associated with it, it will also be executed. So a really nice way to kind of unite that stuff and ensure a consistent configuration on both the hub and the associated sites. The section background colors that John talked about, as he mentioned, these are rolling out and we'll go to 50% today. The site design information panel, the large site script support, and the create site script from existing list and library. Those are the three big features that we announced for site designs, and those are all at targeted release 100%, and will start to roll out worldwide later this month and into February. And why don't we take a quick look at those? And let's see. Oh, and the things that are rolling out later this month, I'll also highlight those. Those are the branding capabilities. A lot of that is really UX stuff. So we've really updated the change the look settings panel to sort of expand it beyond just setting a color theme on your site to support additional branding and layout configurations. And for those of you who haven't seen it, let's go take a quick look at that. I'm going to hopefully jump over to... Excellent. Okay. Can everybody see my screen? Yes, looks like it. All right, great. Let's see. So there's a bunch of stuff here that I'm just going to sort of quickly call out so that we can get through everything. So with branding, the change the look experience. So under the change the look panel, you'll notice that the experience is a little bit different. We, instead of just defaulting you to sort of the theme selector experience that you're familiar with now, what we're doing is we're putting a bunch of additional options here so that you can do things like modify the header, change the layout of the navigation, and even apply and upload logos and links for a footer. So let's take a quick look at these. You'll notice that under the theme, not a whole lot has changed here. We have a similar mechanism here. One thing that is changing, though, is you'll notice that the header background mechanism that you have today is no longer here. That is because we now have this header tab, and so we have moved the header emphasis background mechanism over to the header tab. The header tab also includes a copy of the theme controls for setting the logo that you can set under the site information settings as well. And then you'll notice that there's a few new layouts, well, rather one new layout. We have a standard layout, which is the one that you're familiar with. We're also introducing a compact layout, and we talked about at Ignite some additional layouts. Those are not ready for release yet, but we are looking to provide additional layouts, both that are unique for maybe a specific portal experience, but also ones that are available for all of your sites. And we'll have more information on these additional layouts probably at SharePoint Conference later this spring. But just to give you a heads up on, this is an area that we've gotten a lot of great feedback from you and the rest of the community, and are eager to provide this capability. So we're excited about this one. I will also point out before I leave the header, we're also, Denise and I had talked about, we're fixing some really just stupid stuff with the logo, to be perfectly blunt with you. The ability to have like transparent GIF support, and also to accommodate less rectilinear logos. So if you have something that's more of a rectangle, we can accommodate that, and we'll still maintain the aspect ratio. So you'll notice that the logo that I have here on this site, it's obviously wider than it is tall. excuse me, wider than it is tall, and it still shows up looking just great. Navigation, you'll see that we have a couple new layouts. This is the one that I take it from the threads. Everybody is well aware of. Mega menu is the new one. So we have Cascade, which let me go ahead and apply it for those of you who are, oops, there we go. So you'll see here that Cascade just essentially is the one that you would expect today, where it gives you a flyout menu, but that's just not very awesome. And so there's been a lot of asks for have different layouts, and so now we have this new mega menu. And with the mega menu, you get a much lovelier presentation of your site navigation links. You'll see here that what we support is up to 3 levels, so you can actually have header links as well as specific links here. I'm sorry, child links. And we also support the ability to specify these links as headers instead of URLs. So they can just be essentially labels, which is a really nice option. I will say that this mega menu capability, as I mentioned at the conferences, is only available for horizontal layouts. So horizontal navigation, which shows up in the communication site template. Having said that, let me note, though, that along with mega menu and navigation layouts, and as well as a bunch of these other branding settings, it is our intent to really make these capabilities site template agnostic. What do I mean by that? All these capabilities should really be available regardless of whether or not you are working from a team-connected, a group-connected team site or a communication site. Whether your navigation is horizontal or vertical, we don't want our users to be locked into, oh, I only have these options available to me because I made the decision to pick template A instead of template B when I created the site. So we want to make sure that we have feature parity and functional parity between the templates. So while we are releasing the mega menu template layout only for the com site right now, it is our intent to follow with mega menu layout support for a vertical navigation that you would find in a team site. All right. Finally, the last one, which is work that Bessa mentioned a moment ago, that DC and the Flex team is working on, is a new site footer. So the site footer is also one that we want to get out to you, but it doesn't have parity across the templates yet. So the site footer is only available for communication sites and specifically for article pages. And I apologize, I don't want to know why my logo isn't showing, but you'll notice that you have a bunch of settings to enable the footer, and then also apply links, logos, and letters. Is what I like the way that DC describes this. So you can upload a logo, you can also put the site name, and you can also apply a bunch of footer navigation links. And you'll see this logo down here. Right now, we just have just the label and the logo showing up. And as you probably saw from mine and Denise's presentations, if you haven't, go check out those Ignite slides. Those are some layouts that we are looking to expand upon. And these will complement the placeholder that's available for you to inject any custom SPFX solution. But this is something that would be bolted into the layout of the template itself, that when you enable it, it allows you to do what we're introducing right now is what we call like a simple footer, where you just have sort of links, logos, and letters. But eventually what we're going to do is we're going to allow you to have a fatter footer, or even something that's a little bit of a combination of both. We're still working through the final designs of those layouts, so expect more on those to come, more information on those in the coming year. All right. Let's go back to the slide for a second here. And I think, okay. So let's go talk about the three, in the remaining minutes, let's go talk about the new site design capabilities. That's a little bit more Debbie stuff anyway. Let me go back to SharePoint Home.
Hey, Sean, one quick question that you have in the sidebar. I think the new change of the look panel isn't yet rolled out to targeted release, right? That was the thing where we had the slight problem with some bugs.
Yeah, I'm sorry, everybody. Yeah, correct. All the things I talked about that were delayed until this month, all the mega menu and all that stuff, that's all predicated on that new change the look panel. It doesn't make sense to give you a panel if none of the options work. Cool.
Great, thanks. Yep, that was the question.
Awesome. So A couple of things. I want to take this. I'm going to take you guys through a couple of scenarios. Please, until I look back at the chat window, let me know if you have any questions. Just go ahead and unmute yourself. One of the things that we are doing now is, let's just say Jerome 2019. I'm going to go ahead and create a team site. And notice that I'm selecting a pre-published site design, Contoso Electronics Project Tracker. And what you'll see here is before, the experience you guys have out in market today is if you create a site with a site design, as soon as you get redirected to the site, we used to open up the panel and show the user, the site creator, all the things that are happening. What we've done now is we've switched that over to a notification banner where you can still go ahead and invoke the progress panel to see what things are being applied. The reason why we're doing this is because we actually have some other really cool site capabilities rolling out later this year that we want to sort of make room for it. So, and we also wanted to be able to give that notification banner a little bit more flexibility in what it's doing. So you'll notice that even though I opened it so I could view the progress of what's going on, as soon as this thing was done running, it actually updated itself and the message changed, allowing you to actually still invoke the progress panel or even just refresh the site. I'm going to go ahead and hit the refresh button here, but I will point out something really quickly. Notice that there's a bunch of site script actions. I think this one is still hovering around the 30 limit, but notice that right here I have this create site column products through XML. When I go ahead and refresh this, let's go ahead and jump to this really quickly. So here's my the list that just got created. I'm going to go ahead and open up, and you'll see there's a content type there. And check this out. So this is actually an MMS field. I'm sorry, a Managed Metadata Service taxonomy field. So there's been some excellent contributions from the community. I think Bo Cameron, I don't know if he's on the call, but he had written up, hey, there is a way to actually declare in the JSON object using field XML an MMS field. And yes, that is true. And you're certainly welcome to do that. That's what I actually did here. But one of the things I wanted to let you know is, hey, you can go ahead and do that. And this is using a global term set that I've defined up in the taxonomy store. But what's really cool is we now have this ability where we can create a site script from an existing list. So if you have an MMS field, soon we will be able to extract that metadata as well and be able to recreate that. So that will only work for global lists, for global taxonomy fields. But I did want to let you know that the create site script from list capability that we're rolling out now, it will continue to evolve. Okay, so let's take a look at that. It already does quite a bit now. If I go over to a list like this one here, and you'll see that this list is got a bunch of custom fields. It's even got some view and column formatting. If I go ahead and just grab this list, it's very easy. I'm going to go ahead and jump to a window here. And if I go ahead and let's just go ahead and make a parameter. There's a new PowerShell command. You can also do this with CSOM as well. Let's see. I'm going to what is it? Oh gosh, I don't remember. Get.
You've been having a good holiday break then. So.
Phew. Okay, there it is. All right, so what I'm doing is I'm assigning to a variable this new command, get SPO site script from list. And the parameter I'm passing in is actually the URL of this list that I just was just showing you. Okay, so once I go ahead and do that, we're done. Let's go ahead and get this guy. We're going to just copy that out to the clipboard. And I'm going to jump over to Visual Studio, and voila, there it is. So notice that what I did was that command went ahead and extracted that conference prep list and went and used field XML and a bunch of our JSON scripting to actually go and rehydrate this list. What's super powerful about this, as I'm sure you all see, is we're giving you essentially the starter where you don't have to craft all your JSON from hand or from sample. You can actually now start to create it from existing components that you've either configured through the UI, maybe from a canonical site, or even just one where you know you want to create a script from something that's been previously created. Obviously, with this script now, I can go ahead and just use it as is and go ahead and create a site script and attach it to a site design, or I can even go ahead and amend it, or I can even eventually join it with other site scripts and do sort of a concatenated site design. And so what's super powerful about this is really this is where we're starting to move towards, hey, we're not expecting everybody to be or require everybody to be a JSON expert. We want to start giving you mechanisms and tools and ways to do this sort of through the UI or through easy affordances. Obviously, right now it's through PowerShell, but you can very well imagine some modern equivalent of save list as template, in the UI that allows you to essentially get this script from that existing previously created list. So now that's the first piece. Let's go ahead and do something with this. In this, actually, in the interest of time, I want to go ahead and use something I've already created. If we go back here, you'll see here that I can actually go and run really large scripts. And so notice that I've got this community call large script demo, and I also have this Contoso Mondo site script demo. You'll notice that what they are is they're composed of really large, a couple of site scripts, and they're really large. And in fact, let's go look at one of them in the UI, and that's going to allow me to show you something else that's pretty cool. Here is the, this is another new feature we announced, is there's now a site design information panel. So underneath the same settings gear, you'll see the site design link. And what this does is this is opening up and actually showing with a UI what site designs have been applied to this site. So you'll see that this is a site that I actually created earlier this morning using that same Contoso electronic project tracker. We could even go back to the one I just created with you guys, just to show you that I didn't pre-configure all that. And there it is. And it's actually showing when it was executed and what script actions. The other powerful thing with this new UI is not only can I see what site designs have been applied to a site, I can even use the UI to go and apply additional ones. So I can go ahead and click additional site designs, and you'll see that here's a list of these other ones that have been published on this particular tenant. If I go to this community call large script demo, this was the one that actually I had here in the in my management shell, and you'll see that it's actually composed of actually two site scripts. And I'm sorry, which one is it? It's this one right here. I apologize. And you'll see it's composed of two site scripts. And here's the list. And you guys don't have to count. I already did for you. This is 50 actions. So this is actually a much larger site script. And what I can do is I can actually do it one of two ways. I can go ahead and apply this through the UI, and now this thing will actually start applying these script details through the UI, so I can go ahead and apply this script. Or I could even do something like, we have another command here. Let me go ahead and bring it up so you guys don't have to watch me type. Add SPO site design task. What this does is this actually allows me to queue up a task where I can pass in a site design ID and then the URL of the site where I want to apply the site design to, and it will go ahead and apply that site design to the site. And so in this case, with the one I'm applying here is actually this Contoso Mondo site script demo. You'll see that there's the ID for it. So I've gone ahead and passed in the ID, and I want to go ahead and pass it into this Drones America run, which hopefully is not the same one. Yeah, it's this one here. So if we go there, I'm going to go ahead and actually start executing this one. Oops. Sorry. There we go. Okay, so what this is doing now is it's actually just applying that same large site script. And you'll see that even if I run it through here, we can go ahead through the UI here. Let me go ahead and close that. Oops, I have to refresh, sorry. Might even still be running. It sure is, look at that, it's still running. So even though I kicked this off from PowerShell, we still have the UI that is available to us to go see that this thing is actually being applied. And so this large site script is in the process of being applied to the site. And oops, I messed up one of my actions, but that's nice. Better error messaging. And I think I saw a comment earlier that there was a question about whether or not we're going to improve the error handling. And I think the short answer is yes. We want to give you guys better error handling through the UI, but also even options where we're going to start writing more information to the audit log so that you can see when things are going wrong and be able to remediate. But one of the things that's really nice with this new information panel is you can actually see when something fails, and it isn't just like, with the old progress panel where once it's been executed, it's gone. You can actually re-invoke this thing and actually see, oh, great, I have an error here. In fact, Melissa and I were laughing because we were starting to use this to sort of troubleshoot, because once you've done this, you can actually go ahead and if you had an error with something, you can go ahead and tweak the site script, use the set site script command to go ahead and update it, and then even go back here and just go ahead and say, oh, I want to go ahead and rerun that same site design and see if I can fix the problem. So it actually gives you a nice ability to sort of troubleshoot this stuff. But you'll also see here that on this particular site, I've run multiple site script designs, and I can actually see when they were executed and even pull up their site script detail history, which is super powerful. And by the way, again, I think Bo Cameron, shout out to him. He's been doing some awesome write-ups on some of these features. He actually did a blog post recently where he talked about, hey, you can even use some of the new PowerShell commands that are associated with these capabilities to go ahead and, just run queries against existing sites to go see these details. You don't even need the UI. And you'll find all these things have already been updated. I've just jumped over to the documentation. We have updated the documentation, and you'll see that we've added the new PowerShell, and you can get more details on how to execute these things here, and also the rest. And let's see, what was I going to say? Oh, and no new samples yet. We're looking at, we'll get some new samples in the GitHub repo probably in the coming month. And what else?
Sean, just conscious about the time as well, and I know that Chris is too polite to actually interrupt you, so because we're hitting the hour. And there's two questions.
No, thank you. I was hoping that somebody's going to timestamp me.
It's all good, all good. But I would actually, Chris, if you don't mind, let's go back on the slides, because I'm just being conscious about the time, and I think you're about to close anyway on this. There was two questions what we should go through while we go back on the original presentation slides. I'm going to actually do that if nobody else is doing that.
Yeah,
thank you, Sean, for that. Now, one question was around the modern pages. There is actually in the official site design schema, there's a reference for the pages to be supported in site designs, but that's not yet available. So any timings, any around status or updates on that one was the question.
I'm sorry, I missed the first part of that, so I apologize.
Pages, modern pages support in a site design. So creating pages, part of that.
Yeah, so full disclosure, yes, you guys saw that one of the schema elements that we are working on is for pages. There's actually quite a bit of work to do with pages. I think I've talked with the community about that before. It's one of the reasons why we haven't released it yet. It is something that is top of mind. Melissa is actually working with the Pages API team now to see what we can do. No ETA yet at this time, I'm afraid, but it is something that is very much it's important to us. We know it's important to you. We feel that once we have a great story for script actions to apply and set pages and basic web parts, you've got most everything you need. So we're pretty excited.
Now, on that one, just to clarify also, the process is that we need to get the modern pages, native APIs, either in Graph or in the SharePoint REST to first be available, and then site designs can take advantage of that one. So that's really the delay, like Sean was saying. Now, the second question was the multilingual support on site designs, because there's obviously, in a global world, there's a lot of people across the world joining on these calls. So understandable ask.
Yeah, in the backlog, I'm not gonna put Melissa on the spot there. It's definitely one that we have in the backlog, but we have not no ETA on that one as well. But we hear the feedback, and we appreciate the feedback, and it's not being ignored by any means. Just no ETA on when we can get that funded. So it's something that we're well aware of.
Yep, cool. I think that's it for this one. Chris, do you want to take the honors of flipping the closing slides? And I know that we do apologize. There was a lot of questions in our window which we were unable to actually follow all of them. We need to be also conscious about the time. Please use the GitHub issue list if you have if you have issues related on site designs or branding or those things. Please use the community channels for questions. Please keep the feedback coming related on things.
Hey guys, if there was any broader questions, Vesa, what is the best way for me to follow up with those? Or
I think the tech community would be the right one place, and Perfect. If people mention you in the tech community, you will get an email out of that one as well. So that should be the best. Or if there's an actual issue, if something isn't working properly, people are getting exceptions, then the issue list in the GitHub. That would be the right location.
Thank you. Wonderful. Thanks everybody. Yeah, appreciate it.
Cool. Chris, or either way.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody. Join us on Thursday for our next General Dev SIG meeting. We're going to talk about a quick web part with Dynamics and Flow integration. We're going to have some cool view formatting tips, as always, and have Shocks go through some reminder flows for us. So we'll see you then. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Melissa. Thanks, John. Thanks, John. John is already out. But thank you, everybody. And sorry for not being able to answer all of the questions. This is always the thing. But we'll keep on having the people in the calls. And please give us feedback on what kind of topics we should be also having on the calls as well, so we know who to ask to join on these community calls. But thank you, everybody. See you on the next one.
Thanks, Vesa. Thanks, Chris.
Bye-bye.